Hi, I'm Mr. eTutor, your mystery tutor here at mysterytutor.com, and welcome to video module 6-15. In this module, we'll boil down all the things we talked about for the SAT math section and give you the take-home. One of the most crucial things to remember about the SAT math section is that math questions depend largely on definitions and properties of mathematical ideas. They don't depend so much on calculation. Most of the time, when a student has a difficulty with a math question, it's not because they don't know how to do the math, but because they fail to appreciate a particular aspect of the definitions or properties of the question. And this leads me into the next important thing to remember for the SAT math section. If you want to do well on the SAT math section, you have to be very familiar with the list of concepts that are allowed to appear on the section. As we discussed in an earlier module, every single aspect of the SAT math is standardized, and that certainly includes the types of concepts that are allowed to appear on the test. Once you know that you're familiar with all of the math concepts that can be on the SAT, then a huge hurdle has been removed for you, because every time you see a real SAT math question in the future, even if you can't figure out how to do it right away, you'll have the confidence of knowing that it must be constructed out of concepts that you understand. Remember, again, if you're not familiar with all of the ideas that are allowed to appear on the SAT math section, please sign up for our email service, right there on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll send you a free document jam-packed with everything you need to know about the SAT math section. And while I'm on the topic of things that are allowed to be on the math section, make sure you only practice with real SAT math questions actually written by the College Board. Questions created by third-party companies often involve math concepts that aren't allowed to appear on the actual test. If you practice for those, you're frustrating yourself and wasting your time for no reason. Remember, as we discussed, the SAT math section is completely different from a high school math test. For one thing, on the SAT math section, every single formula you can possibly need is provided for you on every single question. For another thing, SAT math goes out of its way to present questions that look very different from anything you've ever seen before. If you're a well-trained test taker, there's no need to panic when you run across the inevitable difficult-looking question. Instead, you can stay focused, stay relaxed, and use our 9-step plan of attack that we discussed in an earlier module. Breaking the questions down in this way, looking at clues from diagrams and answer choices and standards and everything else, will make finding the answers to these questions quick and repetitive after a little bit of practice. Remember, as with other question types that we've seen, the key here is practicing authentic SAT strategies on authentic SAT questions. The goal is not to cram every single math formula from basic arithmetic all the way through advanced calculus in order to answer the questions on this test. As we've already seen, most of the more challenging questions on the SAT involve no formula whatsoever. So remember, just like we've seen with other sections, the key to approaching real SAT math questions is keeping a level head, thinking about what things the College Board is trying to trick you with, and having a smart game plan. I hope you've enjoyed learning about the correct way to approach the SAT math section, and I hope you also enjoy the video series on the other question types. Thanks again for watching, and remember, it's easier than you think.